Did you know the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was loosely based on a real killer? Yeah, inspired by Ed Gein and the disturbing things police found in his house. But that movie wasn't the scariest part. The scariest part is how sometimes the line between story and reality isn't as thick as you think. So let me tell you something that happened to me and my friend Jenna. We thought we were just going on a simple cabin trip. Nothing dramatic, nothing horror movie worthy, just peace and quiet. But what we got was something I still can't wrap my head around. So grab your snacks, turn off the lights, and listen close, because this is the kind of story that stays with you long after it ends.
It started with me feeling burnt out. You ever get that kind of exhaustion where your brain just won't shut off? The alarms, the city noise, the traffic, the endless scrolling through screens. I felt like I was being drained day by day. So when Jenna suggested a weekend away in the woods, it sounded perfect. No phones, no Wi-Fi, no responsibilities. Just fresh air and silence. I didn't even hesitate. We packed light, just clothes, some food, a couple of beers, and left before sunrise. The drive was long at first. Highways, then back roads, then roads that didn't look like roads anymore. Just dirt paths curling deeper into walls of pine trees. The deeper we drove, the quieter it got. First, the radio cut out, then the GPS froze, and finally there was nothing but the crunch of our tires and the scraping of branches on the car. The air smelled sharp, like pine and earth, and it was cool, almost too cool for the season, like the forest was keeping the warmth out on purpose. We joked about getting lost, laughed nervously every time the car bottomed out over a root. But when the cabin finally appeared through the trees, our laughter died. It was small and crooked, dark logs stacked unevenly, a porch sagging as if it couldn't carry its own weight. The windows were dusty, glass warped so bad the reflections bent the trees behind us, and the chimney leaned like it hadn't been used in decades. I remember standing there staring, thinking, this doesn't look like a vacation spot. This looks like a place someone left behind. But Jenna was excited. She ran up the steps, her boots thumping the hollow wood, and pushed open the door. The smell hit us first. Dust, smoke, something faintly metallic like rust. The kind of smell that clings to old stone and rotting iron. Inside, it was one big room. A fireplace on one side, a table in the middle, and a narrow hallway leading to two bedrooms. The furniture was ancient, scratched wood, sagging cushions, faded curtains, the kind of stuff that looked like it came with the place 100 years ago. The floorboards creaked with every step, and the windows let in so little light it always looked like twilight, even though it was afternoon.
We unpacked, made a fire, and cracked open beers, trying to make it feel cozy. But there was something about the silence that wasn't right. It wasn't peaceful silence. It was heavy, pressing down on us. No birds, no insects, no wind outside, just nothing. I told myself that was what we came for, quiet. But my gut twisted like the woods weren't just quiet, they were listening. That first night, after some food, Jenna suggested walking the little trail behind the cabin. She said it led to a pond. The moon was bright, so we didn't need flashlights. The path was narrow, roots curling across the dirt, the trees leaning close like they didn't want us there. And then the trees opened up to a pond, black, still water, reflecting the moon so perfectly it looked like a second sky. But as I stared across the water, my chest tightened. There was something at the far edge, hunched, half in the shadows. Not moving, but not still either. Its limbs bent wrong. Jenna didn't notice. She laughed at me for being so jumpy, said it was probably a deer, but it didn't move like one. I couldn't take my eyes off it until she pulled me away. We walked back fast, and I didn't look behind me, but I swear I felt eyes boring into my back.
That night, when we tried to sleep, I couldn't. I lay there listening. Jenna was out within minutes, but I heard it faint at first, like wind, but clearer. Whispering right against the wall, too soft to make out words, but too sharp to ignore. Then came scratching, slow, deliberate, along the outside wall, dragging up toward the roof. Then heavy creaks, like footsteps testing the beams. My skin prickled. I wanted to wake Jenna, but I couldn't even move. I held my breath, praying it would stop. And then a smell seeped in, metallic, sharp, almost like blood mixed with smoke. My eyes darted around the room, and in the far corner, I swear I saw a crack in the wall, just a hairline split. But something shifted in it, something quick, pulling back when I stared. Morning finally came, and I told myself I imagined it. Jenna admitted she heard noises too, but brushed it off, said old cabins make sounds. We decided to explore the forest, maybe distract ourselves. The trail was damp, the air colder than yesterday, and still no birds, no bugs, just our footsteps. We found a small clearing, and that's when I froze. Little stacks of stones arranged in circles, twigs tied into shapes like symbols, and in the center, 2 dolls, porcelain, old, cracked, one missing an eye, the other's face chipped, both sitting like they were whispering secrets. Jenna bent down, laughing, said they were cute, probably left by kids years ago. She wanted to take a picture even though we had no signal. I told her not to touch them. My stomach turned. The longer I looked at them, their broken faces seemed to follow us back. At the cabin, the air felt heavier. Every corner seemed darker. I tried to relight the fire, but every match fizzled out, one after another, until smoke curled thick and sour. Jenna said maybe the wood was damp, but the smell in the room wasn't smoke. It was that same metallic tang I'd smelled the night before. I tried to shake it off, but then I heard it, faint from the far corner. A voice, childlike, a single word, "Stay." I froze. Gemma looked at me confused. She hadn't heard it. I didn't say anything. We ate, barely talking. The walls groaned like the whole cabin was breathing. Night came fast, darker than before. The dragging returned across the roof, slow, deliberate, something pacing above us. Shadows stretched too long, twisting across the ceiling, though the fire burned low. I shut my eyes, but the whispers circled closer. Words I couldn't understand, hissing in my ear.
Morning again, and that's when I saw them. Footprints, small, muddy, trailing from the back door into the living room, stopping at the exact corner where I'd heard the voice. The door was locked. Jenna swore she hadn't gone outside. We both just stood there staring, knowing exactly what they meant. We weren't alone. Jenna tried to make coffee that morning, but the water tasted strange, like it had run through a rusty metal pipe. Even the air felt different, heavy, damp, and full of fog that had settled deep into the woods. The trunks of the trees disappeared halfway into the mist, and every breath I took made my chest feel heavier, like something was pressing down on me. No matter what we did that day, we couldn't shake off the tension. We kept joking around, pretending to be fine, but whenever our eyes met, we both knew the truth. We were scared. Around noon, we noticed the old shed in the back. Its door was half locked with a rusted chain. Jenna insisted on checking it out, but I didn't want to. Still, she
tugged at the chain, looking for a way in. The moment she pulled, the rotten wood groaned and the door cracked open. A wave of smell rushed out, decaying wood, damp earth. Inside, I saw piles of old tools, rusted saws, broken shovels, torn burlap sacks. But what froze me was in the back corner, a heap of animal skulls, big ones, small ones, stacked together in a chaotic pile. Some were so old they'd hardened, almost like stone. Jenna laughed nervously, saying maybe hunters had left them behind, but her voice trembled. She shut the door quickly and put the chain back. We didn't say a word because we were thinking the same thing. This wasn't a hunter's shed. It belonged to something else. When evening came, the silence outside was suffocating. I kept the fire alive in the cabin because the darker the rooms got, the smaller they felt, like the walls were pressing in. Jenna tried to sleep, but I stayed awake, listening. At first, I thought the noises from the attic were just rats, but then the creaks grew heavier, like footsteps. Someone was up there. The boards moaned under the weight, then silence, then again, step by step. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I crept into the hallway. A narrow staircase led up. The iron steps were rusted through. I didn't shine my light. I just pressed my ear against the boards. And then I heard it, breathing, slow, deep, unmistakably human. And every time I shifted my foot, there was a soft echo, like something up there was mirroring my steps. My heart pounded so hard, I thought it would tear through my chest. I turned and went back down, not saying a word. I sat by the fire until morning, eyes wide open. When the sun rose, Jenna noticed my bloodshot eyes. "Did you even sleep?" she asked. I didn't answer, just shook my head. Then I looked out the window and froze. My stomach dropped. It hadn't rained all night, but the ground around the cabin was soaked in mud. Dozens, maybe hundreds of footprints surrounded the place. Bare feet, tiny, childlike, but far too many. They circled the cabin again and again through the night. Jenna saw them too, and her face went pale. We didn't speak. That was the moment we decided to leave. We packed quickly and ran to the car, desperate to get out. But when I turned the key, the engine only clicked. The battery was fine, gas tank full. Still nothing. Jenna tried again and again, her hands shaking, but the car wouldn't start. I popped the hood and froze again. Some of the wires had been cut. Clean cuts, like with a blade. Someone had done this. But who? We were alone here, where we thought we were. Panic set in. Jenna screamed into the woods, "Who did this?" But there was no answer, just her own voice echoing back. I tried to calm her down, telling her we'd make it through the night and walk out in the morning. But as soon as the sun dipped, things got worse. A freezing draft slithered through the cabin, though every window was shut. Curtains swayed as if something invisible brushed past them. Jenna sobbed quietly while I gripped a kitchen knife so hard my hand ached. I knew it then. We weren't alone.
By midnight, the sounds returned. At first, faint whispers in the hallway, then children's laughter echoing through the cabin. Then the attic came alive again, this time with the sound of dragging, like something crawling across the floor. Finally, the doorknob started turning, slowly, rattling back and forth. Jenna screamed. I rushed to the door. It was locked tight, but the knob twisted and shook violently as if someone was forcing it. The wood groaned. The hinges trembled. I shouted, "Get out!" And suddenly, it stopped. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. I glanced at the window and my heart stopped. Faces, dozens of pale, lifeless faces stared at us through the glass. Hollow eyes, empty stares, hands pressed flat against the window. They didn't move. They just watched. Jenna saw them too and collapsed into a trembling heap. We pulled the curtains shut, but their silhouettes bled through. Their breathing fogged the glass. I didn't blink once until the sun finally rose. By morning, they were gone. Vanished. Only the footprints remained. Hundreds of small, bare prints scattered around the cabin. That was it. We had to escape. We packed what food we could and started walking north toward the main road. Hours passed. My phone had no signal. The compass spun uselessly. Every path seemed to loop back. By late afternoon, we stumbled onto the same lake again, the one near the cabin. The water was dark, black like glass. We sat on the rocks, exhausted, and that's when I realized something terrifying. The lake didn't show our reflections. No sky, no trees, not even us. Just a blank void, like the surface was hiding another world. Jenna tried to splash her face with water, but the second her hand touched it, she screamed. Her palm was seared red like she'd pressed it to boiling metal. That's when we knew this place wasn't normal. The cabin, the lake, the forest. It was a trap, a snare.
We had no choice but to go back. When we finally returned, the cabin door was wide open. We'd locked it when we left, but now it gaped like a mouth waiting for us. Inside, everything had changed. Furniture overturned, symbols smeared across the walls, and black charcoal over and over, the same words, "Stay with us." Our belongings shredded, food scattered, and from the ceiling chains hung down, swaying gently, empty, waiting. Jenna collapsed into sobs. I sat frozen because I couldn't say aloud the thought screaming in my mind. We weren't getting out that night. The sounds came again, but clearer this time. No laughter, just heavy human breathing. Shadows stretched unnaturally long, peeling off the walls, moving across the floor. Then the attic hatch creaked open and something came down. It was tall, impossibly thin, with arms too long for its body. Its face, nothing but a hollow black void, two deep pits where eyes should be. It stared straight at me. Jenna couldn't even scream. I lunged with the knife, but the blade passed through it like smoke. At the same instant, I felt a crushing grip on my throat, choking me. My vision went black. I thought I was dead, but just as suddenly, the figure melted back into the shadows. When we woke, it was dawn. Both of us sprawled on the floor, somehow still alive. But the footprints outside were different now. Mixed in with the small ones were ours, as if during the night we had been walking too. We finally made it out, stumbling through the forest until we flagged down a truck driver who took us to town. For the first time, I felt safe, or at least I thought I did, because when I got home, unpacking my bag, a stone tumbled out, smooth black from the lake, the same strange symbols carved into its surface. My blood ran cold. I looked up at the mirror on my wall behind me. I expected to see Jenna. Instead, I saw it, the tall, black-eyed figure standing right behind me. When I spun around, the room was empty, but in the mirror, it was still there, watching.